Hey guys, this is a market update. We didn't hit 100K. We haven't printed that trade, that six-figure Bitcoin trade. You can see we're just rejecting off this resistance zone right here. Of course, there's going to be a lot of profit takers up here at 100K. It's just a mental barrier. A lot of people have that as, an area they want to sell out. I get it. But in this bull market, we're going to go higher. We're going to break through this. We're going to go higher, in my opinion. I'll show you why I think that in this video. A lot of people are selling right here. You can see that. Long-term holders spending 60 billion in the last 30 days. You can see that here. That's not terrible news. A bull market for Bitcoin actually is when buyers come in, and of course, for every trade, there is a buyer and a seller. If you want Bitcoin, there is not enough Bitcoin produced by mining to satiate that demand. So a bull market is when buyers come in and they have to bid up the price to a level that incentivizes long-term holders to sell. And they may sell for a variety of reasons, but for every seller, there is, of course, a buyer. Long-term holders spend 60 billion. Well, that means there are buyers up here forcing them to sell, getting them to sell, right? Incentivizing them to sell via a higher price. So you can see that here. A lot of traders that bought in around 68 to 70K are actually selling right now. That's not a good idea, in my opinion. They think they've made a good trade. I think it goes much higher than this in this bull market over the next 12 months. So maybe they think they've made a good trade. I don't think they have. In any case, look, 100K, you're going to get resistance around here. It doesn't matter. I think we're going much higher in this bull market. This is not the end of it. I get it if some people want to sell for their own reasons, but just for this market, if you're looking for timing and everything like that, I think we go a lot higher, which I'll show you right now. So if you do trade crypto, Bybit deposit bonus 30K. So make a deposit, get up to 30K. Click the link down in the description for that. Also, the Crypto Investor course, 21% off for the rest of this month only, like a week left. So click the link below, you can find out the details. There is still a long way to go in this bull market, in my opinion. We're not overdone at 95,000. We're just not. You can see that from the longer term data and the short term data, which I'll show you now. Bitcoin supply and demand models. This is mobile phone S-curve, world internet S-curve, and then the OECD internet S-curve. Very, very similar, right? So Bitcoin is a network and it's proliferating. You can very clearly see that. When the price gets a little bit overdone in relation to its trend, it usually pulls back. And we have these really bad bear markets in Bitcoin, right? Minus 65, 70%. What we're actually saying is it's come down 70% from the highest price it ever traded at, which was multiples higher than the prices that were trading 12 months before that high, right? So if you just look at the curve, the longer term curve, this thing is appreciating over time. So you have to be in it. You have to invest and regularly buy to get a decent average price that just tracks the curve of this adoption and the growth over time. It's as simple as that. If you want to out trade, you just have to buy way more when we're near this trend. And as you can see, the price always just gets way too high in relation to that trend. And eventually, it's not going to work out. It's going to come back to this trend. So at 95K, which it's trading at now, it's not overdone. You can see that right here. We are not like above trend too much. We're not the same as these previous bull markets where you can see the price gets way higher than these trends. If we get up to here, like 200 plus K this cycle, then that you're probably looking at some sort of top again if we were to come back to the trend. And I just think we do, because ultimately over 4-8 years, the trend is the thing that you have to watch out for, not the daily traded price or anything like that. So longer term, I don't think we're kind of overdone. Bitcoin does have these bull markets, and 95K isn't massively overdone in relation to its longer term trend. So I think we're still in a good spot. AVIV ratio is also telling us that we're nowhere near a peak in this bull market. AVIV essentially tells us when the price is really, really high and being pushed up in relation to its kind of longer term trend. Well, again, we're not even at 5 AVIV, right? So we're not even pushing through that. You can see that just above my head. Previous bull markets always break through this during price discovery. And again, I don't think it's best to actually sell when we break it, because you can see it's a process of reaching some sort of high for that cycle. So we broke through it here, and we broke through it for the next kind of six months or so, right? With much more price appreciation after that. And again, in the last bull market, we break through it here, but then we go, 2 or 3x from there as well until we finally top out. We haven't even broken through it. So I think there's a long way to go in this bull market until things get really, really crazy. So 95, it's not cheap Bitcoin, but look, you want to accumulate the assets so much. The only time to get, kind of really scared is when we start topping out. And I don't think AVIV is going to show us that. On-chain isn't going to show us that. It's actually central bank policy, which is the short term, which I'll come on to now. I think the bull market will continue for as long as the Fed is dropping interest rates, trying to help the Treasury refinance the debt. This is the big gorilla in the room. Every risk asset price is priced off US government bonds. That is the market for everything. So that's where the liquidity is. That's where the market trades at. Everyone holds these government bonds, right? Corporations, other governments. This is the market to focus on. So what's happening now is that the Treasury has a ton of debt that is having to be refinanced. The net interest expenditures is one of the top line items in the federal outlays for the states, right? So one of the biggest costs they have is this net interest. It matters what the interest rate is. When they have to refinance, it matters that the Fed helps them drop interest rates as low as possible so that the blended interest rate that they're paying is as low as possible. And that helps out the Treasury. Otherwise, if you just keep raising interest rates on yourself, it gets worse and worse and worse. This is why we're having a bull market. The Fed has said, we're dropping interest rates. The market is pricing this in, the forward curve of interest rates, and this affects risk asset prices because it affects the price of the dollar. The interest rate on the dollar affects everything else because if interest rates are very high, then that strengthens the dollar. The other side of the trade is Bitcoin, so that weakens. Now we're getting weakening interest rates. Maybe that strengthens Bitcoin in relation to the dollar because that's what we're pricing it in. A whopping 7.6 trillion is maturing within a year. That's 31% of all outstanding US government debt. So when we look at this, a lot of government debt is being issued on the short end of things. In fact, the vast majority is on the short end, and it's being rolled over in the next year or so. That means they want the lowest interest rates in the next year or so. It's funny how this works, right? They're timing it perfectly. They don't come out and say this. They should say it, but they don't. They have to pretend with all of this other stuff that they're doing. They have to drop interest rates to keep the blended interest rate as low as possible. That's creating a bull market. That is not finished. It's going to go on for a lot longer, 6 to 12 months. And so I think we still have a bull market here. When the Fed has dropped interest rates and the Treasury has refinanced the bulk of its debt, then that inflation that they're creating now is going to start to come out in the data, and they'll have to draw it down again, which is the next bear market. But for right now, we're in the sweet spot bull market and not selling here. So good luck if you're selling at 100, but I think we go a lot higher as interest rates continue to come down, and that is a stimulative effect on risk assets. If you trade Bybit deposit bonus down below, the crypto investor course has 21% off until the end of this month. Just check the details below. You can see the code that you can put in there. I'm James, this is MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.